A story gets around at a high school concerning a beautiful girl that all the boys whom she sits next to eventually develops feelings for. She was met with unfavorable reception. Nobody avoids this tragedy, which grants her the vicious person who kills their seatmate. Upon the MCs, his friend Narito Yuki overhears this. Kaedaru laughs at him because he reacts to with a slight limp. Narito inquires as to the reason of his informed him about this rumor. Katara prompts him that he has only switched chairs and his neighbor's workstation is owned by, yes, that Takatatsuki Yui. The people are wagering on when Narito will reach the finish line. However, he thinks it's irrelevant and will probably stay away from him. Yet, Kaedaru is adamant engaging with her seatmates is something she does very consistently, and likens them to moths captured in her snare. She walks in right then and there, greeting the students as their attention shifts in her direction. Sitting down next to her, this story's protagonist, shocking him, when Kataru confidently disappears, quirk an eyebrow, adorned with a radiant grin. By the end of the class, Narita remembers the warning from Kataru and questions why someone would squander their time on someone as he is. When she inquires about his reading, his response is straightforward. It's a novel, and she chuckles, claiming that candor feels like a barrier from those people.
The wall is already up,
he says. Tumbled a long time ago, and she playfully wonders if it's time for them to march in unison. His statement includes two, still, she can't help but wonder who he characterizes as a titan. Afterwards, she displays an additional volume and extends a lending it because his love of reading ignites his interest as he inquires about its nature in relation to. She describes it as a heartfelt, a romantic tale with an unusual title, My Desire to Cause Liver Damage. When he sees the name, claiming it resembles in relation to drunkenness, and because her laughter, I despise being pushed, he says. Following the advice of others, she gives a phone call him in a ninja-like fashion and presses down once again. Nevertheless, he refuses, crosses his arms and makes her play the role of a parent who is avoiding a daughter as a gift. He asks with a sigh, "The strange voiceovers need to end, please." According to her, it's precisely how he sounds, as if he were about to talk. According to him, he's deep into the pages of his own novel. And he fumbles for words when she probes further. Concerning the challenging title, she chuckles, claiming that the word is difficult to speak, and he's far more captivating than she thought. Feeling humiliated, he believes this must be the source of the rumors and their growth shy. The instructor bursts in out of nowhere and realizing he has misplaced his assigned reading. Her teasing suggests he could appear brilliant in theory, but in practice, and his response is that it's a disguise. At the time, she wants to know what he means, but all he says is helpless, and a flush develops on her cheeks, shade of red. He proceeds by requesting to use her notebook as she yells out, "Idiot," although he continues to mimic it. During the noon-hour pause, Narita ambulates along the hall, sense that today was different from appears strange, as he spots Takatatsuki silently tagging along closely behind him. He notes that she has been trailing after him, and her response is that he duplicated her financial obligations. He ought to compensate her with juice. Even he concedes that she's right. As they stroll along, their palms meet, and he whispers because her proximity is excessive. She leans, playfully suggesting that he might be fearful, claiming that he typically displays a cold demeanor but may appear charming. He felt ashamed, races to get a quarter from the vending machine, and chasing after him, she begs him not to be left behind. When he inquires about her is looking for, she says tea, while nodding, insisting that it's the best option. She nods, asserting that this is his first when along with her. Not only that, but he also freely indicates, but he does mention that he would have gone with cola, refusing to place an order for the identical drink, but he does it with a sense of pride, declaring he finds it invigorating. As he watched, she inquires about the flavor. He provides she a go, giving her the thumbs up as an encouragement.
"Stand up."
Even though she's hesitant, she proclaims at last that there is no going back. He admits with a laugh that it's not like. While she's doing so, she finds it challenging to drink in his company, looking intently. As a result, she gags and he walks away. with a flourish before declaring her completion. He discovers the can is still half full later on. Discovers that she completely neglected to consume it. Kaitaru approaches Narito later and asks how matters pertaining to the alleged seatmate killer. When asked, Narito says that there is mundane, yet Kitaru slyly smiles, acknowledging it as a common reaction, that the inevitable will occur. He labels her as a depraved young woman who fails to. The child finds himself captivated by her, occasionally expressing his curiosity about whether she intentionally does it, then elaborates by saying that they become potential allies via pain. He returns home in an unorthodox manner. Naro feels a presence behind him and pivots to where Takatsuki is. As a joke, she says he has to suddenly become acutely aware of with her. He states that it had previously been engaged and then inquires as to whether she plans to return home. He proposes going for a stroll after she confirms. All at once. Donning her spectacles, she presents oneself as a researcher Narito's enigma, abandoning him perplexed until she inquires about its amusement value.
It was.
He concedes. Then she begs him to laugh. Right way, rather than acting like a machine, signaling that his expressionless face unnerves her. Assuring her that he will not concern, articulating that he has consistently humorous, and he chuckles only when something is really humorous. This very second isn't related to that. Frustrated, she fixates on him, and he perceives it as peculiar just how much she worries about him. A suggestion considers and discusses the ways in which he enjoys reading mystery novels on a regular basis, the difficulty of comprehending mind of a criminal. Unprepared for his unexpected reveal herself, she attentively listens as he inquires authorization to speculate about her thoughts. He then implies that she's trying to bring her seatmate to her knees, captivated by her. She asks with a smile, just in case she came clean about the fact that it was true. He looks into her eyes and then gestures to. It appears his assumption was correct. She asks why he could ever believe she would that sort of thing. Instead, he says that it would make for intriguing reading if she were such a way. With her muscles tensed, she inquires as to whether he should signify as a demon, and further states that should he come across woman in such a manner, it can cause problems. He wants to know why she won't let go of him. She says she wants to know because the impression he puts off is that of someone who likes to spend time alone. In contrast to other boys, their bonds are unbreakable. Thinking back on, she says, he says she's dishonest. She disputes, claiming that his statements and ideas are mismatched. Acknowledging his inability to provide an explanation, it is obvious. She suggests playing along. If he ever has feelings of isolation, he understands that she has been misinterpreted. He is happy. He gets plenty of food and naps, continues to be in good health. From his perspective, experiencing joy entails valuing the now and now bypassing the pursuit of excellence. Her comments he comes out as quite philosophical. He discloses he learned it from his mother. Upon her inquiry on his mother, he vaguely states that she died 3 years ago, long ago, which made her lose her voice just before softly expressing regret. An image from one's past appears while he watched his sister sob. He tenderly strokes head of Yui, assuring her that it is okay to cry and that I will be all right. At that moment, she yells out and shoves him. He was accused of harassing her. He stands firm in his opposition, defending oneself aggressiveness and describing how her face contorted into a sobbing expression. Herically inquiring as to why he touched her head on, she challenges him. Described by him brought back memories of his little sister from at that time. Smirks of relief appear while he watches her improve, her cheeks flushing. Remarking on her response, he inquires as to her well-being. She continues by saying she's merely taken aback, returns to her previous position after mentioning that they will meet again at a later time. During she cautions him as he agrees, and then turns away when stroking the hair of girls in order to unconcerned, maintaining that this is not a narrative, and the general public would face an issue that it comes with. As she watched him depart, tightens her grip and lets out a low growl beneath her sigh, a gentle solemnity. Remorse will be heaped upon him. One day. He had better be careful. The focus moves to an earlier time. The outdoor in the lecture hall, Takatsuki listens in on a pair males chatting. A person complains about sitting right beside her is the most awful person. I pity him, as he puts it. It all started with those reckless statements. Yui used to be timid. During her breaks, she likes to be by herself, passing the time through the looks and murmurs. She did unpleasant experience of switching seats. Their actions caused her to troubled, as if plunged into a glare that she had no desire for. Back at the house, Maki, her older sister, relaxes on the reclining on the couch, with a book resting over my lap. Ignoring the ceiling, according to her, if social discomfort is the issue, perhaps Yui may take a humorous approach. The user interface designer frowns in confusion. This guidance fails to make sense. Being humorous is meaningless.
Mean?
This is what Maki says. If the individual. When she chuckles, it becomes easier for both of them. Here at UI, we really value this advice. She did enjoys comedic television and gains knowledge about begins to make jokes and then uses them at academic institution. Before long, her fellow students would be contacting her amusing. I have no idea where she gets her ideas in a humorous manner. Even in the school, she can't help but crack jokes about amuse her other passengers and begin dating coming clean one by one. I didn't mean her intention. All she wanted was to avoid becoming turned off. Presently, nevertheless, she remembers what Narito said about her allegedly playing an athletic event. It hurts. Afterwards, as she minces, as she muses over the carrots, she thought it was unnecessary to end the game. Other people's emotions elude him. That kind of speech suggests he might be confronting her. The fact that he can caress her head with such ease. Out of nowhere, sensation of a pat on the back, causing Yui turn around and yell, "I'm not the kind to..." The girl to get romantically involved so rapidly. In a playful way, Maki suggests that Yui's habit of waking up early and even making the meal. I asked in jest if he's the intended recipient. A barrage of her with queries if he's handsome, if they met, and then Yui freaks out. Maki says with a smile that ever since little sister is obviously head over heels for her, she will instruct her on how to cook, how to make the perfect meal. Shamefaced, Yuni maintains that her sister does not hold this opinion, is willing to take her advice nevertheless. And they put a bento box together. In the future, as soon as Narito sees the box, he inquires about it. Using the term Pandora's box, he smirks when he refers to it as a catastrophe fill, recognizing that she achieved it all for his sake. "Stop playing games," he tells her, since word got out about her scheme and shall bring her no benefit. However, she inquires as to whether he could be developing feelings for her. On top of that, he thinks it's funny, but she smirks and remarks that it's still superior to the bread he consistently purchases from the cafeteria. Inquisitive, he takes the box out and begins devouring, taken aback by the golden buerdo along with the seasoning, eagerly chewing as he gushes over the corn's delectability. Yui remains transfixed as he completes all the while wondering whether his soul and I've given in to my feelings for her. He bows down, expresses gratitude, and then turns around.
A container.
However, Yui, feeling little let down, inquires whether anything else might be said.
He thinks she's talking about money and proposes to reimburse you, but she refuses to budge.
On the contrary, he remarks that the taste was first-rate, which makes her peacefully was hit. He assures her that she doesn't have to act so subtly, yet she maintains that wants nothing more than to see her sister, who eagerly awaits her turn at home, can give it a go, too. Her confidence soars as she believes his hunger has been sated by her. Following that, class, a downpour, and Narito finds his umbrella among the items on the rack, presumed he had brought one. When Keteru shows up presenting Narito with an umbrella in a zoo stand with Shaden and Flecken, Dear Narita asks if that collision qualifies as a canopy, but Kaidaru is adamant that they are able to communicate and persevere with friendship. According to Narita, this is what elementary school students say. So, in a huff, Kaidaru declares that there isn't talking to someone like him about sharing points. When Narito is by himself, he notices his spare recalls Yui's appearance while holding an umbrella when he last said goodbye to Good Day, Kitaro. Looking back, he's sure she stands behind him and sees her. That's right. In response to his accusation, she who yells out, "Poor," perplexing him till he notices that her umbrella is missing. As she observes him, she realizes he came prepared. Just as he gives her his. The woman strongly advises him to refrain from on the fence, but he stresses that it's all his separate umbrella. Sharing he is concerned is likely to arouse suspicion. And yet, makes it seem like the umbrella is overly big and requires a sturdy individual to support it. He was complain, finally settling for giving in, and grabs the command, noting that the precipitation is getting worse, and he'll have to shoulder the burden everything for her because he's physically capable. She did smiles as she gently places her hand on his, querying whether his hand is damp. What he means is that it's like sweaty, and she insists it's only the rain. When they get to her house, he affirms that it is her stop and instructs her to hang on to the canopy. Inquiring about what he says he'll do it, then says he'll hurry home. Joking that friendship's transformative power, she playfully remarks that he sounds like a kid in elementary school. He says it's all right. He places his sack over his head, and goodbye with a wave and a watchful eye be happy, because he had prayed for this circumstance, even if he would vehemently deny of it. He gets home in a puddle, where his Mina, his younger sister, welcomes him with anxiety and wonders if he endured bullying. "I lent my umbrella to," Narito says. "Someone you know." Friend is a word that she doubts. However, he makes it clear that it wasn't that type of assures her that everything will be well. She did without making a sound, while contemplating dealing with her brother. Remarking on her, he advises her to dress more like a child at a similar age, but she cautions him against assured that I will provide a hand with the chores of alleviate his hardship. Sweetly, she dials who he is before jokingly proclaiming herself a nurturing younger sibling, achieving gentle scolding for the admiration of oneself. In the morning, while Narito is getting ready, Mina shocks him by releasing a celebratory popper, as well as praising him, displaying the cake that she baked. He looks at it in awe and whispers that the cake appears lifeless. And the question, why would he say that, makes her scowl upon finishing it for him. Under her influence, she motivates him in order to give it a go. Despite his gratitude, he gently reminds her that the day in question is not his birthday. She gives a knowing nod and elaborates on her, created a brand new celebration known as Brother's Day. Given that Mother's Day has already passed all day long, he says with a laugh that she's mistakenly thinking it is Father's Day, however consumes some nonetheless, smelling the peculiar scent his food before he eats it, quietly contemplating that it continues to bring him joy because it was all for him that she exerted herself. As he inquires as to whether she isn't having in response to which, she states that she has already had a bite of it. In a more grave tone, she reveals addressing him. She has a significant message to convey. At his consent to listen, she expresses her gratitude. On a consistent basis for pitching in with household duties and preparing meals without grumbling, claiming that adores having a brother like that. He was jokes if you think this is a goodbye. Although she adamantly denies it, she elaborates that, in honor of her brother, she's proclaiming a new beginning. She informs him he's completely absorbed in her every move, never forming relationships with people. She implores him to grant her greater on my own. Acknowledging that it wasn't that, she was ill-equipped to handle the situation, but beyond her previous limitations, and he informs her that there's no requirement to justify her actions. Mina insists on she will now socialize in order for him to may at last find a romantic partner. As well as he responds that the task at hand is difficult. She is expected because he claims to be older. By doing so, she declares her intention to bathe, but prior to her departure, he says,
"I adore this aspect of this with her."
She gives a subtle grin and asserts that is well informed. When their mom passed away, my entire life at home shifted. When my dad became spiritually preoccupied charms, enveloping the home in auspicious energy charms and amulets. It struck Mina. Most severely affected, not merely by the setback, but because to their unpredictable, nervous father behavior. Over time, she ceased attending, went back to school, and isolated herself the area where she resides. While at home, she sported a bright disguise, perpetually grinning, perpetually acting. In her heart, nevertheless, she hoped she could go away. Friends were never invited by her. Through. And the home became euphoric with a sense of calm unease. During the course of her subsequent when she was in the 7th grade, she went back to classroom, announcing that she would form friendships this moment. But Naro felt as though she was trying too hard. Currently, notwithstanding whilst engaged in a game, he mulls over what he could to assist her. Suddenly, Mina enters the room. Following a refreshing wash, displaying her brand garments that include a smile. In an attempt to off of her, but as soon as she leaps, hand landing on his shoulder as he approaches, patting her head. Per her, she is appropriately attired, even yet he maintains his dissent. Then, Yuki wants to know if girls don't appreciate being gave the head a pat. Perplexed, she asks if he has a crush on a specific girl that is. Feeling humiliated, he considers ending the discussion, even though Takadaski's as an example. Mina takes note and questions the identity of the person, and to accuse him of omitting information.
He says it's not, she disagrees, claiming he appears out of his element, and in his mind, it's as if they're suddenly standing there.
Midst of her cross-examination in a courtroom truthfully with him. Under Narito's mind, Mina decides to pursue a career in law.
Being questioned by him, and Yui also shows there, notifying her that disregarding her would result in problem.
Exiting the situation, he softly murmurs that he has to take a bath, over which Mina becomes outraged. Afterwards, starting from, she extends a helping hand just outside the restroom, yet he dismisses her concerns and instructs her to, instead, you should play a game. She continues, she raises her voice, and he considers yelling.
So he's pessimistic.
As he takes a bath, her mind races with the idea that she had already rejoiced because she is a talented younger sibling who is capable of doing independently and who brother will no longer have to fret over with her. On the following day of class, Takatsuki comes up to him holding 2 umbrellas, curious about the one she took, but he has suspicions that she is plotting. She draws them in, claiming he is completely without amusement, and he gladly takes one. Just return it, I told her with a sigh. Normally. The embarrassment, she concedes. While he prepares to depart, he makes a comment. He expresses his relief that she escaped with a cold. Takatsuki mutters softly, then expresses deep gratitude to him for yesterday. He gives a light-hearted salute in return, receiving a severe beating. By the time he expresses her dissatisfaction, she contends that mood. He sees her phone in class, on the screen in the form of an avatar. And in cases he inquires as to her career aspirations, instead of admitting it, she asks for his contact info. After discussing the specifics, he mentions Yuki as his first name and asks if it's okay to use that name. In his gathers the phone, takes a long breath, and she finds amusing, and he playfully suggests that he should feel bad about it. How should he pronounce it, her given name? Plus, when she responds to Yui, he speaks it out loud without missing a beat. Startled, she begins to wonder whether he actually does not. He appears to be unfazed by his social abilities, addressing her by her given name. After that, he raises the possibility of Yui-san or even Yui-chan, which unsettles her to the point where she says Yui alone is all right. In a clenched state, after she bolts, he can't get her to answer his call.
Yui alone is sufficient,
he murmurs once more. For the subsequent period, she abstains. The reason behind it remains a mystery. In the dining hall, Kiru sets a platter of food before Narito proclaimed it his treat, and proceeded proclaims that the entertaining questioning starts now. Perplexed, Narito inquires about aspirations, and Kitaro drops clues about placing a wager. Previous to another boy can ask Narito more questions. Walks up to the person and gently asks for A at this time. Upon discovering his identity, Narito approaches Kitaru and proclaims him to be the best student in his class goalkeeper, either Sinote Kento or Sanuken. My name is Narito.
Inquiries, but Kitaru becomes angry and snaps.
If his purpose in being here is to boast about his academic achievements, he would be better off making small talk with a wall. A serene Tsunato describes how he used to sit next to Hello There. Kituru immediately leaps to his feet, utterly astounded. Then Naruto wonders. However, Kitaru stops him and insists on be aware of if Tsunade admitted guilt. Whenever Sano confesses, Kitaru tightly grips his hand, who he regards as a brother. Gazing upon them, a peculiar friendship, in Narita's opinion, is growing right in front of his very eyes. Next, Senod inquires in the event that Kitaru admitted guilt, and Kitaru assures with a swagger that he does, in fact, selected Seatmate Killer as the working title, to explain how she often turns down young man. Senot says with a sly grin that every time,
Also,
Narito admits, he'll get the ability to address him as senpai.
okay.
Narito, bewildered, inquires as to what precisely he would be a respect from. Yet Kitaru interjects, giving notice of the establishment of a fraternity, most especially a fraternity people who were victims. The three of them exchange cards, accompanying Senod as he joyfully announces the brand new coalition, the Seatmate Murderers Victims Association. Totally Narito confused, unable to understand how things escalated to the point where she loses it and starts screaming, "Tell them to keep quiet."
Void ensues.
They avoid making eye contact,
Up till Naruto asks and breaks it.
They arrived for... Effortlessly, both Kitaru and Sonoda both answer simultaneously. He should stop trying. As Naro looks on, a wave of to the point when it becomes bullying.
Hello, Kitaru.
Requests that he stop before she falls. She inserted her claws and referred to it as friendly. Advice.
Naruto inquires about the possibility of in order to stay out of their ridiculous alliance.
The idea is entirely snuffed out by Sano. The hope he asserts brings about misery. It's quite the one piece of advice he has left behind. The way he spoke, strangely severe, like a hard-nosed parent. Dear Narita, curious about the exact moment they were loved ones. Next, Senod starts describing his prior knowledge. Years ago, while Sano was sitting next to Ayam Takatsuki, her daily greeting to him was a kind grin, claiming herself fortunate to sit adjacent to someone with such a high IQ, a mentor she could look up to. She went so far as to was pleased with his notes and referred to them as absolutely stunning. Obviously, expressions such as that charmed him to his core. Says Narita. He was utilized, and Kitaru elaborates by saying that regarding women, he is vulnerable. Upon Senod's request regarding Kitaru's personal encounter, he thinks back to when he was in middle school. Incidentally, he moaned when he dropped his eraser. It was too heavy to lift. Yui leant over, grabbed it, and delicately blew the brushed off the dust and returned it. He was grateful to her, but he continues to proclaim that he was blessed with the breath of the deity eraser. Chenod has a preference for Narito and softly expresses his worry about Kitaru's in the long run. Out loud, Narito thinks that Kitaru you develop feelings for an unknown person on a roadway. Kitaru stands firm, adamant that his belief that she would take his admission as gospel. Thus, it disputes that Kitaru has a tendency to be too emotional. Kitaru insists on stating that she was turned down he could speak to him without fear, as Senod shows that her reaction to his own. It was a different confession, putting pressure on his person. Was it the case after graduation from high school first started? It was, according to Senod. Hey there, Kaidaru! Asserts that he is a naive romantic. However, Senod disputes, claiming that it's weird that people keep confessing to her in order to, but she never modifies her conduct beside her fellow passengers. Kaidaru grants, indeed, but Senod becomes rather angry and shouts, maintaining her composure at that is all. Actually, it was she who made contact initially. When asked if Shiai requested notes from Seno, but expresses disapproval, it didn't affect her grades. Senod then abruptly states that he now gets that it's all a game. In response, Narita says that he actually did inquire, telling her the truth, which resulted in, out of shock, Kitaru and Senod will yell true, he did approach her. Says he was just being casual, but in the event where Kitaru is aware of precisely, she poses a threat with her actions. So, according to Noda, if all she desired was to be indulged, she would have little trouble succeeding taken place. When he sees Naro, he asks. He ponders. According to Narita, it appears such a decent human being. He brings out the fact that allow him to replicate her assignments, and remember she said that he acted like a machine. Sonoda and Kitaru both raise their voices once more, yelling that if she's playing with them, they'd be in for a feel no remorse, and they are in complete agreement. Subsequently, during class, Narito contemplates in writing, why does she keep bringing up this unusual play, the game of enticing boys to her side? He was the eraser falls. Yudi retrieves it using a light-hearted wink, inquiring about ownership, then promises to accept it. Says Narita. Something pertaining to the breath of the deity. However, she appears perplexed and inquires about his amounts to... She says goodbye after school, and he finds it strange because is typically adamant about taking a stroll once returning home all at once. Later on, she sent a message shows up and requests that they meet at a sweets boutique on 49th Street. At the time, upon his arrival, she is already situated in the powerful gusts of air. He warmly welcomes her and proposes they might have gotten home on foot instead.
As per the norm.
As she grinned and conveys the idea that, after all these time, communicated by exchanging contact details, ought to make use of contemporary modern technology. Perplexed, Narito receives everything finally clicks after receiving her message. This is her intended message. Upon her departure suggests entering, he is slightly unsettled, uneasy, but then proceeds. The store owner says hello to him, and Yui returns the gesture.
With grace.
Soon after, the more senior lady inquires as to whether her boyfriend's name is Narito. Feeling ashamed, suddenly Yui winks at and denies the accusation.
His person.
Narita observes her, perplexed by what now engaged in, as Yui feels moves strategies away from the collapse from the romantic game to the cover-up operation. She did references the works of anime and manga that acting as a date can occasionally result in true emotions. Next, Naruto looks to the store owner and asks, "So what's our next move? Is it my responsibility to do as her boyfriend?" Cackles and claims they are blameless. Tales of Naruto snaps back at her, calling him a fellow student.
Just a little.
Yui flinches, and then inquires as to whether they are even buddies. At a later in the park, she informs him that regarding to ensure his future success, he ought to get out more. Naruto inquires as to why now is concerned. According to her, if he the same way, he will never make it as a mature adult.
Very few people will befriend him.
Has no romantic partner. Perplexed, he murmurs girlfriend. And then she pushes his person. Is this his first? Confessing to, adding that not even his sister keeps urging him to go out and get one. My dear Yui, surprised? Nope. She said she was expecting that. Then he wonders why he shouldn't just live his life does, but she responds by suggesting that perhaps a chance has presented itself to him. He is unnerved by her gaze. It all begins when he began to, "Can you tell me if she's still engaged in that game?" Yet again. He begs her to end her relationship with the game since it seems like pointless. She stands up suddenly, her sharpness of expression, and asserts that not an activity. Her tone is dead serious. He presumes that she is attempting to shield her flawless history of turning down every single boy. But subsequently, she speaks more softly and comes clean about her sincere desire to spend more time with him. His ability to react, an unexpected swoop of wind when Yui looks away from them, hastily departing, ending the discussion still pending. Yai returns to her home and puts her lying on my back, mortified as, in her memory, she feels her skirt fluttered in the wind. Aware that Naruto caught sight of her, leading to situation is uncomfortable. She develops further agitated, recalling the way Ale admitted how she felt, and starts sobbing as she feels helpless. Just subsequently, Narito's telegram arrives, reassuring her and assuring her that no worries at all. Her typing speed is impressive. Asked him to clarify, and he affirms his belief that nobody else noticed anything. Disgusted, she discards her puts down the phone, certain that he has to have realized something when the wind swung. Entering the room is Maki, her older sister, inquiring as to the source of her agitation by itself. Yui sidesteps the inquiry and instead asks regards to the celebration she hosted. Maki dismisses the matter. Tomorrow is when Yui will finally reveal, requesting that she use the knock method the subsequent time. Thereafter, she consents. Sits down next to her and softly prods her in order to speak. In her complaint, Yui decries Maki's abrupt shift in tone and cautions her against to peruse her mobile device, but Maki takes it up in a humorous manner and reads Narito's message of apology.
I wonder, Maki asks that boy's identity is and if Yui was successful in to admit guilt.
Yui maintains her innocence, but the recollection of that whirlwind moment inspires rediscover my blush. Pressing the Maki information, and Yui now acknowledges that she seems like she's going downhill quickly. Maki encourages her to speak honestly, but worried about being rejected, Yui hesitates. Maki argues back that it doesn't matter if he doesn't like to confront the other person, it's preferable to the reality. Ultimately, love is similar to unpredictable wind that can't be controlled, comprehend completely. Flummoxed, it embraces her sister tightly, disappearing into the as a spoiled brat she constantly hides as soon as problems arise. Hugging her, Maki near and delicately highlights that concealing following her heart will get her nowhere. Tears gaze fixed on Maki. Yui attentively listens as sheds light on the core problem, her dread of telling the truth. As a result, they opt to practice. Cozying up together, Yui Shili makes up an admission. Maki jumps to laughter and gives her cheek a quick pinch, taunting her by saying she sounds like a mouse. Yui feels flustered, but relieved to have spoken it out loud. At the time, if she continues to put things off, Maki says, someone else has the potential to abduct him. From her, my disposition has turned sour once more. After that, Maki suggests a different approach, cosmetics.
It appears that Yui caught off guard.
As a joke, Maki says to Yui is typically shown as an elderly man and as a putting in some work could alter his perspective on with her. Inquisitive and hurt, Yui inquires if she ought to go for a trendier style. Maki nods, excited to observe her small, the wicked side of sister. Love it, Yui asks for the cosmetics suite. Maki informs her Yui quickly races to the restroom. Removed, taking hold of her sister's hand and pulling her backwards. However, at Narito's residence, where he gazes at his final to see if he irritated her, she continues to remain silent, frustrating his person. Perhaps the uncomfortable situation did not with her. With a sigh, he attempts to ignore it. Then Mina enters the room, still in her underwear. He covers her up with a blanket right away, reprimanding her for failing to dress accurate manner. Angry and upset, she confronts him. To care for her as a mother, but ultimately clad in a t-shirt and muttering that he's extremely sensitive. It's no surprise he's not dating anyone at the moment. At that same moment, it's his phone ringing. Upon noticing the notice and goes to get it, Tales of Narito is unable to resist the urge and quickly takes it, coming upon an image of Takatsuki. The look in her eyes very limited. There is no way you are acquainted with this attractive, she complains, before accusing him of an app that isn't real and has a girlfriend.
She is corrected by Narito. You are genuine, simply an acquaintance.
He instructs her to peruse in the conversation if she is skeptical his person. In a cursory review, Mina acknowledges I think the girl is real. Dismayed that my sibling is in fact chatting with someone excluding members of the immediate family, as a form of taunting, she speaks discovering the exact moment he befriended this character with SSR traits. He reclaims the phone. Annoyance and mild embarrassment were evident. As adorned with Yui's image, he finds himself entranced and be in awe of her grin. He understands the importance of she has become a household name. Little Mina observes him silently, experiencing a pain. She hasn't made any friends yet, but he is. Absolutely not. She suddenly grabs the phone. Yet again. With a playful grin, she presses the keys, sends the message.
You is so cute.
Out of fear, Narito yells. Where Takatsuki asks their house, she and Maki eagerly anticipate an answer. Frightened that he could not respond. Maki tells her to unwind instead of bombarding him with messages. After that, its word has reached its destination. Your adorableness is immeasurable. Several seductive lines follow. The gals let out a gasp. Gesturing in disbelief, Yui whispering that men genuinely care about concerning appearances. Maki, in contrast, bursts into elation. Yet another message, the following. Your love is my lifeblood. Their voices resound in surreal sentiment. Angry and helpless, Yui seeks out Ask Maki for assistance. Maki advises her to remain relaxed and type with precision. Uneasy, Yui went to respond with a hopeful, "I love you too," with one another, certain that the feeling is reciprocated, perceiving a recent romance as at birth. However, a second message follows. Explains to Narito that his little that hurts since my sister sent those texts. Yui stumbles and hits the floor. Maki hastily enters the response that her elder sister, who replied, making the observation that Yui faces a formidable opponent in Narito, complains about her want to vanish. Mina decides to give it a shot on the way to school. Becomes more challenging to establish friendships, given that she looks like her brother has found someone. Avoid people at all costs. While in lecture, agitated by the mayhem all around, sits alone with her. At one point, she may have even solitude, but today, there's a noticeable change. A boulder self-propping itself up in her mind when a boy triumphantly knocked into her, discussing the idea of executing a Black Knight persona, but in truth, she continues to quiet, uncertain. As the lads in the area make light-hearted remarks about Sleeping Beauty, she comes to terms with the frequency with which she feigns slumber. Among them, one includes dragging a dark steed, and she spots an opportunity to participate, but is hesitant to long. A life goal appears to be making friends. Fight to the death? As soon as another woman assumes the seat next to her, Mina harbors the hope at last. She has found someone serene enough to consult with. As she musters up her bravery, a conversation is currently underway between the girl and some other individual. Another opportunity diminishes. As the day progresses, she gives it another shot. Each eventually decides to walk home after time fails by itself. That night, while she and I sat on the couch, comfort her. She is burdened by grief. She informs herself that she lacks control and cannot not even manage to befriend someone. When asked if that's all, she makes a concerted effort to calm. Fear not, for she will do quite fine. According to her, her arms hurt, but the only reason for that is how long it has been. Because she engaged in gaming. The author highlights the one she performed yesterday. She refuses to answer, says she's all right, and puts she's content. As he draws nearer and suggests that she should not stress. Her heart breaks at the mere touch. Tears her invitation to come over and play all at once. Arms crossed over their laps, and in the end, she triumphs over him. In a smug mood, and her declaration is, "Mission complete." Moans about the way he refers to her cunning strategies. As she stretched, notes that during combat, due to negligence, the disparity exists in the realm between the living and the dead. He complains about, that's the essence of helplessness, I suppose. Is comparable to. Smugly, she wanders away, contemplating I feel terrible for him. Day after day, she goes on and does something about independence. She chooses respectable attire, decides to go see a movie by themselves for the excitement. Wearing the cap that given to her by her mother, with the intention of safeguarding threatening individuals. Right before she starts, Narito shows up at the door and inquires as to where she is on her way. She responds to film. He fears for her safety while she's alone, and despite her reservations, he proceeds well. Whatever. A moan escapes her lips. Sure enough, he carried out. He then inquires, "Can you go hand in hand as per the norm?" She yells out that obviously grown-ups can navigate her own, albeit she's secretly a little afraid. As she notices the boys staring, she clasps her arm of a sibling. She then proceeded to fatigued and in need of a restroom break. So, while he waits, he sits on a bench. As she departs, he considers the possibility that, notwithstanding the film lifts her spirits, she continues to perform strangely. Perhaps he ought to be more taking part. Close by, Maki and Yui are not at home. Whilst being alone, they spot Narito.
It is Yui's astonishment fills the air.
It baffles her why does he show up in his casual attire, and in particular the person he is expecting. Maki views her discomfort and inquires as to what wrong. Yui freaks out and decides she can't hope he gets a glimpse of her with her sibling. She takes a pair of spectacles from Maki, puts them on, while lowering her voice to an unusual persona, assuming the role of another somewhere else. Maki seems perplexed, as she points out in which such a figure did not feature cinematic presentation. Trying to figure out if Yui is only to irritate.
Sure, Takatoski self-assures that the disguise is effective.
As if she continues in this manner, he will not identify her.
All I have to do is get to the doorway.
Immediately ahead of, under her false pretense, she murmurs to him, shouting,
Look at it!
"Look at it!" Attempting to blend in, Maki furrows his brow, has doubts about her sister's claims. Asking where to eat was her main intention.
Upcoming.
Takatoski suddenly reveals that impresses, saying, "Check it out." Surprisingly, Narito inquires from behind precisely what she is looking at, contacting name. Her body goes rigid. Meki steals a quick look at her, intervenes, and inquires as to if he could be acquaintance of Yui's. With a feint of a deflection, insisting that they simply depart. Maki and Narito observes that she continues to rise to the occasion. As Naro looks over at Maki, she reveals her identity to Katsuki as younger sibling and expresses gratitude for the trustworthy companion. She describes her, "Why is my sister behaving strangely?" Nito is quick to smile and praises the adorableness of the photo she shared. "He appeared to be the other day." Yui radiates subtly. Maki inquires as to whether he arrived to visit a film, but he confirms that it has already concluded. After she offers to buy him dinner, he declines. Concerns herself, but she is adamant, and Yudi promptly proclaims her desire for Italian cuisine, yet she was questioning Maki to correct her. It was Yuki, not her, and right then Nina, upon she returned from the restroom, she notices takes stock of the situation, her brother included. Sandwiched between two competitors, the grown-up sister-in-law and the peculiar examen it determined that she has to stand in, she dashes over, seizes his grip, and fervently proclaims that she is his lover, removing him from the situation. Yui and Maki are taken aback. While Narito is distant, he comes to the realization that even Mina is capable bravely take action when she so desires. Shield him if she so desires. Upon returning home, he proudly displays the portrait of Takatsuki to Mina. Mina replies, her eyes wide with shock.
Is that his fiancée?
He dismisses her as a companion, however unique. In the meanwhile, Yui hides beneath her blanket, too distressed by the lunchtime scene. The following day, following that school, Yui accompanies Yuki on a avoid eye contact when she furrows her brow, and he starts to question whether she's angry. As he, when she does attempt to communicate, she rapidly notes that he had a good time yesterday, and consents. Subsequently, she inquires about the girls just yesterday. It occurred to him that he claimed to be single and unattached. Discovers that she has been stuffing something under her all day. He clarifies that it was merely his younger sibling. Yoi believes it appeared unlike a couple, more like siblings, and sighs with relief. Even though she verbally taunts older siblings being romantic partners is a typical cliché in animated media. On the inside, she worries, uncertain of how to react without causing problems, feeling that it would be wise not to upset him too much, Naro. Afterwards acknowledges that his sister lacks, she devotes her time and energy to her pals. Yui's eyes widened when she referred to him as a kind sibling, stating that is the way things be. However, he does mention that his sister difficulties in establishing friendships, which is why Yui never leaves his side. Nods in agreement while grinning, describing him as a lovely sibling, although she does acknowledge that she is a little distressed. She remembers that Mina had inquired sibling to meet new people and announced that she refused to reveal her own feelings until he obtained a romantic partner. Startled, Yui exclaims inquired as to the source of Mina's enormous notion. Narito elaborates that it signifies his sister has always given up. A hush descends over them as Yui abruptly halts and anxiously inquires as to whether is eligible to be his girlfriend. His brow furrows in surprise. And in her haste, she yells out that he overheard maintaining her stance that she was merely kidding with the sole intention of inspiring Mina to pals. Nario steadily gestures at her and still decides, which makes her feel embarrassed as she inquires as to whether he is truly okay with that. According to him, his sister has been behaving oddly, as if attempting to mature at the same time rapid pace, and he hopes to demonstrate to her that, along their journey, he has also grown up. Looks at Yui's face and wonders what her expression is off. She whispers that she realizes his genuine concern when it came to his adorable little sister, whispers that all he wants is to shield.
What the fuck?
Narito asks with a grimace.
Implies.
Upon arriving at his residence, she transforms her anxious energy into a vibrant smile. He takes note and wonders why her visage is radiating light, and she snaps her fingers, announcing the beginning.
Bewildered, she clarifies to him that if upon entering, Mina will ponder being just friends, they have an obligation to look as a pair. He inquires as to how, and she shyly recommends going hand in hand.
Hesitating, he takes her hand in his, then walks away astonished when he says in a composed manner,
This is in a state of fear. She's adamant that they more akin to a couple of offenders running under querying.
However, prior to her releasing, escorted her indoors while yelling that he has returned home.
Extremely anxious, she eventually comes to a standstill as Mina seems to be wearing garments in a reckless manner. So shocking it makes her flush. Tears brighten her expression as she screams out that the siblings' behavior is already inappropriate.
From the beginning.
Narito nonchalantly has seen that his sister is still donning the very same thing, as Mina hides her face in shame. UI yells incredulously the fact that Mina covers her mouth while revealing so considerably, and Mina, feeling self-conscious, inquires as to who invitee is. Naro formally presents her by stating that is the young woman he brought up, and that they are seeing one other. Mina falls on her knees, in denial, murmuring that it seems too good to be true. As Yui observes the scenario, considers the possibility that Mina isn't interested in to confide in anyone about her brother. Inquires about his salary while narrowing her gaze, he denies paying the girl and says he, unbeknownst to him, she is actually his partner, but it is evident that Mina trusts him.
He is adamant about discovering her proposes to address the matter, and she calmly replies that until it's officially announced, so what?
Yui snaps at the idea that such reasoning is unjust, but discreetly observes how the brothers' demeanor is quite similar.
Suddenly, Mina says that she is going to host anxiety.
Yui inquires about the nature of the test, and Mina leads them into a disorganized room, overflowing with refuse.
Crossed arms, to demonstrate her worth, she asserts, Yui must overcome 3 tests: courage, competence, and physical form.
The former is an integrity test, tidying up the space. She objects that it's Mina cautions her about using only free labor. Nonchalantly. Narito let out a sigh, visibly distressed by the room's situation, when Yui grudgingly starts to clean up. She takes up a light novel and inquires if little sister is in 5th-degree devil territory. Seeing the light in Mina's eyes, she confesses Yui says with a smile, "It's my favorite." She also owns it. Observing their bonding process with ease, Narita understands that this is his sister has never been seen by him before.
Speak so easily with another person.
Once the cleaning test is passed by UI, Mina. With her arms crossed, she declares the following test: the kitchen. Yui wants to know what she needs to mint, and then Mina tells her to cook fluffy omaris, Narita whispers. It's simply... Mina refuses to listen to him, despite his pleas. With a hint of nervousness, Yui grins and points out, egg dishes are easy enough. As time goes on, the dish is placed on the table. Shiny and exquisitely formed, Mina's eyes gape in disbelief as Narito mutters that this girl who has simply seemed pointless yesterday can suddenly scoff and order him to cook and clean. Mina does not appreciate his impoliteness. Casts a wary glance in the direction of the serving platter, whispering, "It could appear nice on the exterior, but not on the interior." A nibble, consuming it in an instant with bright eyes and gushing over how great it was.
Yui has now successfully completed the 2nd trial.
Even Mina reluctantly embraces her permission.
However, Mina proceeds to announce that 3rd body of testing.
Prior to Yui's inquiry, in a hug that breaks bones, Mina snatches her up. Then Yui falls into a slouch on the bed, weary, just to perceive Mina's serene, shocked Yudi to hear the news that she had failed. When Narito scolds his sister, who is protesting, since she finds this so enjoyable, Mina maintains she asserts her innocence, saying that although she is Narito, experience the affection of Yui appears to be emotionally distant. Yui reclines, remains breathless, and gently inquires if that's very well. Naruto reclines awkwardly next to,
I'm synchronizing.
he tells her. Snaps back into place, flushed, and snaps at that. He's getting too near while Mina scolds him, because he was overly sensitive in front of his half-sister.
Mina then adds a third, I'm curious as to why Naro has feelings for Yui.
Speaks slowly, obviously considering too much, till,
Just say something!
Yui yells at him. He says,
Panty string.
the room is silent.
Gets paralyzed.
Yui yells at him. Mina inquires has any bearing on the matter, and Narito endeavors to get away with it, but ultimately, everything. Suddenly, all three of them look embarrassed and humiliated. Mina puts her arms over her chest and comments on how much they resemble as spouses, abandoning each other shocked. Yui inquires as to whether or not that implies she reached the end goal, and Mina gives a silent approval before launching into it is the decision of the goddess. She makes hand of Yui, and she assures him that she will assist Mina in forming friendships, which turn on the lights and encircle her in a bear grip. Advising her brother to refrain from being mean when it comes to user interfaces, and whether as she expands her social circle and discovers her own unique universe will grow in the future.
When Yui departs with to him, she claims that the phony girlfriend scheme well, although he does acknowledge that her performance was credible.
Her face flushes and she mutters she wasn't playing a role, which leads him to halt in shock as he lays his hand on her in order to restate it. She becomes anxious and snaps at him to stop talking.
Yuki truly currently has a romantic partner, but Mina contemplates in silence whether she is good. Mina stops what she's doing and asks his destination. Narito nonchalantly responds by saying he's going on a date.
Startled, she declares without thinking that she failed to grasp was making headway, even though he fears in his head he's simply being pulled along. As he continues, Mina becomes increasingly agitated.
Found love and is planning to.
He invites her to go out with him when he suggests it. To avoid feeling lonely, she freaks out herself, concerned that she could genuinely say yes, but then she abruptly says she already has plans in the company of her friend Ra. Narita brings up a furrow her brow, wondering if Freya is a toy. Her skin crawls as she adamantly,
No.
He cautions her against meeting with him. Mysterious online users, leading to a complaint rejecting the idea before firmly stating that it's a buddy from school. Whenever he insists on truth of their intentions, she acknowledges, at this point, no decisions have been made, and he cringes at the sound of how unprepared it is.
She exclaims angrily. He's always disrupting the flow of thought by highlighting his accompanying her to the theater. He keeps her cool and gently reminds her that it was to the sole reason that she was solitary, leading to assertively stating that it was unrelated to, on the occasion that he wonders if she truthfully enjoys socializing. She refuses to acknowledge that he expresses his uncertainty, and wonders aloud why she is social. She decided to visit the movie with him instead, which drives her crazy.
She loses it and starts screaming that she's friended someone. Then, what's the deal with Shirley Naruto dares her to prove it? Upload a photo, even if it's only a hand, if she rejects a headshot. Mina raises objections, uninterested in having Ra photograph them, but with unwavering resolve, he strides away, closing the door, closing on him in spite of her pleading, pursues him. Alone, she contemplates how he passes the time waiting at the station, wondering if he should have argued with her way before user interface, UI, comes with a calm that I was sorry to keep him waiting. Gorgeous in a really fashionable way, she departs until she expresses her dissatisfaction with while he observed her without responding. Effort, he ultimately gives her a compliment. Dressing in such a charming way causes her to flush, acknowledging his kindness. She promptly asserts that he must constantly sneak in something unsavory. Subsequently, when they stroll through the expansive patio area behind the urban area, she expresses her liberation and makes observations about landscape, but realizes he appears absorbed in his thoughts. He describes how he conflicted with that morning Mina, who asserted that she was gathering with friends.
Yui says that it seems to be a positive development if Mina is making an effort, although he is hesitant to complete his considered ignoring him.
She finally confesses that I used to have a hard time making friends as well.
If that was unique to her,
he playfully asks. Imaginative, yet she maintains that it was truthful while giving her sister tips about the gate, but she managed to figure it out on her own in the end.
Mina must be.
she says with conviction.
Figure it out.
Neither he nor anybody else decided by someone else. Yui informs him that he finds it difficult to create meaningful relationships with different people.
Which is why Mina can relate to, and because Mina admired him as a child, surely she is also kind to him, because she throws a watched as the stone sank into the water, to which he adds that it fell exquisitely. She chuckles, acknowledging that she's awful at it. Afterwards, when they exchange buns, he whittles down his own while she enjoys his food and takes his time eating, claiming that it tasted great, and she playfully asks whether he would like to lie down on her lap, bracing himself for his rejection. However, he gladly agrees, leaning. Her embarrassment shows as she shoves his go away while blaming him for failing to should inquire, but instead gives her a sleepy stare. When correctly inquiring about her charms moment, her jaw dropped at his candor, and she agrees hesitantly, but without delay, bosoms down onto her lap. Plummeting peacefully dozes off. Her body tenses up, feeling overpowered by the proximity, fretting he might be able to detect her pulse. As he, while he sleeps, muttering something about feeling a surge of anxiety due to her pleasant aroma, curious about his interest in her scent. At some point, she also falls asleep. He asks her hand in a casual manner as they awaken, and fastens a bracelet with a clasp. Seems bewildered and wonders if it's truly intended for her. He casually shrugs and claims it was just lounging around the house. However, accepts the present with gratitude anyhow, even though it was deemed suspicious. She is so embarrassed that she claims a gift is still there, then takes note of the time, suggesting that they should turn around. He gives a little nod in agreement. Is asked, very casually, if she would like to eat supper at his house. Inquires as to his motivation for today, but his thoughts drifted to Mina, he says, and the joy that would radiate from her presence. Yui concurs and suggests that they return coexisting. Upon their arrival, he proceeds to knock on, shouting from Mina's door that he has returned home along with Yui, adding that nobody is responding and they're ravenous. Yui that she may be in the living room. He appears uneasy though, and they merely look to discover that the room is vacant. Yui scans the area and asserts her inability to perceive her, discovering that Mina is not at home.
Did you try contacting?
She inquires further. So he texts her.
It's already... Still no sign of Mina at her house as of 8 p.
To no avail, Yuki attempts to contact her by phone. No response, not even on the internet. Yui takes a wild assumption. Perhaps she is completely absorbed in her new colleague who was forgotten by her, yet he is unable to dispel the discomfort. He withdraws his presence. She intervenes, though, and says she'll lend a hand.
Look.
He argues against it by claiming she maintains that it will be later, however effective in tandem, supplementing with it expressed in a way that she is unable to, simply leaving an unfaithful partner during a period when this... Yuki wonders about the focus, but she dismisses the incident, referring to herself Mina's spectral elder sister. Together, they embark as he was out, soothing the streets, thinking burdened with feelings of shame for subjecting Mina is to gather evidence of her companion. Again confuses complete strangers for her, and once more, till they reach the park, where she spent her childhood playing. A recollection of her time spent swinging, at one point reassuring him in a low voice that she was determined to demonstrate mom. She was capable of handling everything by herself. In his memory, she sprinted to his mother. Later on, jubilant, but solely for that one day to probably won't play those again. Jumps back to the here and now. He maintains looking till Ui comes rushing over, gasping for air, claiming to have discovered nothing either. Instead, he recommends contacting authorities. At that moment, his pupils dilate and he notices Mina standing close by. Quickly reach out to her, releasing a feeling of relief as they find out why Mina chose to ignore their calls. Just chuckles, claiming she completely forgot about duration due to her excessive enjoyment among his pals. His countenance displays a severe expression when in the beginning, but becomes more lenient when he gets down on one knee and approaches her at her level, grinning and expressing his happiness
She had a good time before softly proposing that they return home. She raises her eyes to gaze at him. To him, his eyes watering as he inquires,
Why?
He responds calmly, indicating that he is not irate. No amount of anger can make her secure, but that exacerbates her frustration even more. She suddenly yells out, "He never goes completely bonkers, never flinches, even when..." She was left alone when their mother passed away. He confesses to suppressing his tears, because he believed he needed to keep his strength as a sibling of hers. And if that upset her mistrust him, he feels terrible. Quiet, comprehending the weight of his burden, subtly implying that her actions have no bearing on the situation. She accuses herself of being a misbehaving child, unfit for his attention, particularly at this time that he is seeing someone. He makes an effort he tries to touch her, but she firmly rejects him, cautioning him against approaching. Ultimately admits, stating that she isn't in order to compel oneself to form friendships, even acknowledging that Yui is not truly his romantic partner, but Yui ends up covering for him before she steps in and pulls Mina into an embrace, admitting that she, too, had no companions. Mia denies it, but in her defense, Yui says that she used to hide until she gave it a go in real life, imitating the people she looked up to. Took some getting used to, but eventually, individuals found her funny and embraced her, and in this way, she was able to form friendships. Advises Mina to take things slowly, to continue making small but steady progress. With a gentle touch, Mina wipes, she expresses gratitude and tears to her. Yui grins, ignoring the incident. Narito reassures Mina that whatever, no matter what, he is her brother for life, while bearing the brunt of her gloomy disposition abruptly ends as Yui yawns, as her two siblings fix their gaze on her in astonishment. Yui extends her body and smiles, implying that they need a break from being grave all the time, causing her to yawn involuntarily.
On purpose, she confesses that she likely came out as strange, leading Mina. Then Yui gets in on the joke, claiming that Mina's made her laugh out loud as well.
The stress rides up, and the two begin to tease each other with one another. Observing them, for an instant Narito believes that Yui has their mother's kind embrace. Out of nowhere, Mina claims she's going hungry, and a suggestion from Yui is to take Guden from the railway station, hinting that it will be showing on with him. As they set out on their journey, Narita finds out that Mina's newfound acquaintances aren't those that happen to show up by coincidence, but the ones who remain loyal to her and propelling her ahead.
Standing here, I am aware that I departed. I would discovered my future self,